Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Limited Time Only. Today, I'm your host, Spencer, and I'm joined by a very special guest and one of my favorite people, Chantelle Campbell.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. I made a drink today to celebrate 99 episodes, me coming back for a minute, and I made my drink out of this pineapple shaker just for you. So
Put it on some pizza.
I won't do that. But it will never make you debate whether or not you like pineapple on our pizza is our sponsors at Oasis Games and Ink Gaming. You can check them out at oasisgamesSC.com. You can get 15% off your order by using the code CCMTG at checkout. And you can also go to inkgaming.com and use the code CCMTG10 at checkout. Let them know that we sent you. We really appreciate our sponsors. I actually don't think that LTO has a Patreon right now since we stopped doing the podcast. So nothing to plug there. But I would like to just kind of go back to normal for a second and pick Chantelle's brain, as she's been doing a lot of drafts, and start this with LTO's first segment, which is Biggest Mover. So every week on the show that we do the show, we like to talk about the cards that have gone up or down the most for us recently in our time drafting the set. And since LTO actually hasn't been live since the new set came out, I'd like to kind of go off of our baseline, Chantelle, as to what is the cards that have impressed you the most since the set came out that you kind of weren't expecting.
The first card that comes to mind for me is definitely Healer's Hawk. Healer's Hawk, I was like, oh, whatever, like a 1-drop, 1/1. But that card does work with Mentor and with Flying and Lifelink. You can close out games.
Yeah, once you get like one counter on it, that 2/2 Flying Lifelink is like a really big threat. And I have 1-drops at large kind of at my Biggest Mover. I did not expect that basically all your Boros deck want 1-drops. It doesn't really matter what they are. Healer's Hawk being the best of them. But man, you really want 1-drops in those Boros decks.
Oh yeah, even the red Battalion Goblin.
Italian Goblin?
I can't remember the goblin's name.
Is it the 1/1 with Mentor?
Yeah, that you can pump for a red and 1. Yeah, that card's also very, very impressive, I think.
Yeah, I find that the 1-drops in this format are way better than I expected, and you kind of need them, to be honest. Like, the value that the people are getting out of their Dimir decks and their Izzet decks really makes it so you have to pressure them. And the thing is that Izzet's kind of the same way, where like it's trying to pressure on one side of its deck. So I think 1-drops kind of play a pivotal role that we didn't expect coming into this format.
No, definitely. And there are so many 2-drops with Mentor or 2-drops that benefit from the 1-drops, especially in Boros. So I think being able to curve your 1, 2, 3 is pretty game-winning most of the time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think my biggest mover down for this format is definitely just Selesnya at large.
I was going to say green, just like green as a color.
Yeah, it's funny because the uncommons and some of the premier commons in the Selesnya deck, for example, are like Lev Champion. Like I have plenty of undefeated decks that are Selesnya. But man, the value and the game plan that's executed from some of these Dimir and Izzet decks just makes it really hard to play green decks. I personally have not had an undefeated Golgari deck. That doesn't mean you can't have them. Like, you certainly can. It's not that bad of a guild, but man, it's a lot harder with these green decks than it is for some of the other decks, especially if you're not the only drafter.
Oh yeah, I think with blue, black, and red and white, you are just they're able to support 2 to 3 drafters at a table, but green, like, I think you can only have one Selesnya or one Golgari drafter at a table, really, to get a deck that is comparable to a Dimir deck, which you could probably have a couple drafters at the table. It's so much deeper.
What have your thoughts been on the sealed format at large? Like, what are your biggest movers up or down in that format?
I was really hopeful for Boros. I know aggro decks in sealed are kind of a non-starter generally, but I was hopeful that it would be deep enough that it would be good. And you can certainly get a nutty Boros deck, but I think just aggro generally has gone down quite a lot for me because of the power of Dimir and Surveil, especially in sealed.
Yeah, one of the things that I was planning on going to GP Denver, didn't get to, but one of the things that we were talking about going into that Grand Prix was like, Boros is going to be real in this format where it's not as good in our typical sealed leagues, and we needed to remember that going into the Grand Prix, because Boros was kind of underperforming in sealed leagues and on Arena when it had it sealed, and now when you look at something like Team Sealed, it really did shine for Boros. I think at that Grand Prix, lots of people had really good Boros decks, but I think outside of that, I think you're right.
Yeah, I think Team Sealed in this format is a very different beast. I know I competed at Grand Prix Denver with Gabby and Sarah, and in our conversations leading up to it, we were like, kind of hoping that we just didn't have to play green, like, because we thought that the other colors were so deep that you could just have a Boros, Izzet, and Dimir deck if your packs lined up that way. Obviously, it always comes down to what you open, and if you open a lot of Selesnya bombs, or if you open a Vraska, like, you're going to play that. But we thought that the colors might even be enough that you could just splash whatever bomb green cards you had off of the back of Boros or off of the back of Dimir.
Sure. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the thing that we're here for. And do you want to start with questions from the listeners, or do you want to start with questions from Spencer?
Let's do listeners first.
Okay. So we did ask some people if they had questions for you. So before we get into either questions, actually, let's actually start with, what is hashtag 100 days of draft?
Well, I hope that it's pretty self-explanatory. I recently completed 100 days of doing a draft every single day. I think my timing might have been kind of poor because it actually just meant like a lot of M19 drafts. But it was just like, let's get better at draft. How do you do that? Draft more.
Sure. And was that just because you didn't enjoy draft? Like, what was the motivation?
Well, it was funny. I was complaining to a friend that I just was not good at draft. I was not confident. I didn't feel comfortable. And they were like, stop making excuses. And like, I'm never preparing for a limited event. Like, limited Grand Prix are sealed. Why do I need to be good at draft? Like, I don't have time. I always have other events coming up. And they're like put up or shut up, essentially.
Sure.
And then I was like, okay, I'm going to draft 100. I'm going to draft a day for 100 days. And they're like, that's not quite what I meant. But
well, one of our first questions is, what is the one thing that you realized about Limited that you didn't know before 100 days of draft?
One thing I realized that I didn't know before, you can do well with draft decks that don't look that good.
That's it's especially true on Moto. Yeah, having to only go 3-0 is significantly different. Did you get to do a lot of drafting on Arena?
I did a little bit of drafting on Arena. I didn't do a ton because I thought that the value of drafting against real opponents was more beneficial.
Oh, okay.
Real people instead of bots. Since then, though, I think the draft interface on Arena has improved quite a bit, though. So it's something I want to check out further, for sure.
Sure. The next question that we have is, do you love Limited more or less than when you started? I have very lopsided love or hate for Limited depending on the set.
I think generally more. I think my dislike of Limited previously was just not being comfortable with playing Limited, and you just kind of force yourself into that comfort.
Sure. The next one is, it's easy to just start going through the motions when playing Magic. For 100 drafts, did you get to the point where you struggled to stay in the mindset of looking for areas for improvement? If so, how did you overcome it?
Oh, absolutely. I think when you get into your day 50s and 60s and 70s, it's very easy to just be like, shoot, I gotta do my draft tonight. Oh, I don't have time for that. Whatever. They'll just hammer it out and be like, cool, it's done.
Too bad you weren't drafting on Arena. They're fast on Arena.
They are fast on Arena.
You can get drafts in on Arena quick. So how did you overcome it? How did you? I can just imagine day 40 waking up and dreading the draft when you wake up. You wake up in the morning, you're going to work, and you're like, oh no, I have to draft when I get home.
Well, I think, like, I feel like I started off very strong where I was getting a lot of feedback from my little community about the drafts that I was doing and like my picks and my games. And I feel like that kind of tapered off. And I was making it less of a priority. And so I think the people around me were also making it less of a priority. But in the middle of those slumps, it's hard where you're just like,
You
oh,
feel alone?
yeah, you're like, I haven't won a match in like 4 days. That's cool. My elo rating's down like 100 points. Okay. And like having to keep doing it, even though you're not fully committed to it, is a unique challenge. But I think it's just about like getting back on that horse.
Sure. The next question is, in fact, what did you do to get over the middle slump? Like, how did you do it?
For me, it was just continuing to try to have a positive attitude, which is something I do in all of my approaches to Magic, where you just have to recognize that variance is a part of this game. And in the end, your results don't really matter as long as you are learning something. Like you either win something or you learn something.
Yeah.
So I just started reevaluating like the point of the entire exercise. To like it doesn't matter if I see result improvement, it's am I learning something? Okay, let's go back to the basics. Like let's go back to focusing on the drafts and focusing on like gameplay decisions and just try to learn.
So the next part of the same question is, did you treat yourself after at draft 100?
I took a few days off from Magic, and that was like kind of.
That was a treat. You didn't like buy a cake, throw a party?
Oh, I should have. I should have bought a cake.
I would have bought a cake, Chantelle.
Like
Delish. You like red velvet, don't you? I think I heard that.
Just like the icing has 100 days of draft on it, and like cut a piece out of it. Yeah, that sounds really good.
So the next question is, it seems likely that one could fall into the trap of doing 100 days and not drafting for a lot more. What are you doing to make sure that you keep your limited game sharp?
I'm being bad right now because I actually have a couple of constructed Grand Prix coming up, so my focus has been on preparing for them. I have Grand Prix New Jersey this weekend, and then I have Grand Prix Shizuoka in a month, and those are both standard, and then Shizuoka is also legacy, so I'm taking a little bit of hiatus from draft, but once Shizuoka is done, then it'll be back into the sealed draft prep for Grand Prix Vancouver, which is at the end of December.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's kind of move on to my questions, but what do you think the hardest part was outside of that slump?
I think it's just about, for me, because I'm the type of person where I just spread myself so thin, where I'm like, yeah, I can make time for this thing. Yeah, I can totally help you out with that thing. Oh yeah, we could play D&D on Monday nights and play basketball on Wednesdays, and then I'll try to stream. Like it's just like finding the time to draft every day is weirdly challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just as somebody who streams and tries to stream twice a week, like it's hard.
Yeah, man.
It's so much time to dedicate to doing anything, and it's, you know, I've seen a couple of these 100 days hashtags now, and I am honestly impressed that you could do it. Like it seems so hard. Like I've seen people do 100 days of streaming. I know one of our listeners, Andrew, did 100 days of coding or has tried to. Like it's so many days.
No, I found like I have made workarounds for myself. I was like, oh, I'll do my draft today, but I don't really have time to play the games today, so I'll play the games tomorrow and then do a draft and then play the rest of the games for tomorrow's draft tomorrow. Or like fitting it in on stream was really good. And yeah, just like find ways to make it work.
Sure. The next question that I have here is, what do you think are the top 3 biggest takeaways you have about Limited after this?
Number 1, don't use your removal right away. That was maybe my biggest learning from this entire thing, because I'm a very aggressive player in Standard and Modern, where I'm like we're gonna kill you while you still have cards in your hand, and
Sure.
Limited is all sub variation of mid range.
Right.
Figuring out when you're the aggressor and when you're the control player in that is a unique challenge, but like, don't use your removal right away.
Sure.
Like, hold it back, play it out another threat, reassess. That's, I think, something that took me the longest to learn. I think secondarily, don't be afraid to splash or like experiment with splashing colors, like 3 or 4 or 5 colors. Like,
Sure.
You need to try things to figure out if they work.
How many archetypes do you think you drafted in M19?
Oh, I'd say I drafted all 10 color pairings and then like another 5 3-color decks
Sure.
on top of that, probably. I never got risky with the 4-color decks in M19 because it doesn't have good mana support. But
how many of the Return to Ravnica, or not Return to Ravnica, Guild of Ravnica drafts did you get to do?
I did a handful. I think I did 5 or 10.
Okay.
It's a really good format. I really like Guilds of Ravnica draft.
What do you think the biggest takeaway about yourself was in this process? Like, not Limited, not Magic, but what did you learn about Chantelle in doing this?
Deep introspection time. For me, I think the importance of my support systems.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I was tracking at the beginning. I tracked my results all the way through on a spreadsheet, and at the beginning, I was getting a lot of feedback and a lot of discussion was happening around choices and picks and decisions, and I kind of in the middle like sequestered myself away. But at the end, I started like drafting with friends more, and I think getting that feedback is so much more valuable than just drafting in a bubble.
Sure.
You just like go through the motions and you're just like, oh, draft again, and you don't really have time to reflect. Or if you are reflecting, you're not getting anyone else's opinions to challenge your own reasoning. And I think that helps breed growth.
Did you change anything about the way that you lose? Because when you do 100 drafts, you're doing it every day, you're probably just going to lose some amount of to yourself just not wanting to draft. So did you find a way to overcome those type of losses?
I think it's just about it's all about reflection, like reflecting on why you might have lost a game or a match, and it's like, oh, it's because it's 11 p.m. and I really don't care about this right now. It's just as reasonable as, oh, I got mana screwed. Like,
did you find a way to care about the matches at 11 p.m. or did you just say, I'm just not playing right now? Like, I'm throwing away money. I'm gonna go play this tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Where it's like, oh yeah, I'm 1-1 in this league, and I am like checking my phone between decisions. Like, let's just turn off the computer. We can finish this later.
I wish that I just did that regularly, not just when I'm drafting 100 times, because honestly, it's really easy to just be like, I gotta just finish this league so I can go to bed, rather than saying, I can go to this bed and finish this league literally whenever I want.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Would you recommend that others try this?
I think it worked really well for me to draft more because I was drafting literally 0 before I decided to do this. I think if you are going to go into it, you don't need to set an arbitrary amount of days like I did. Just commit to, if you want to commit to drafting more, or if you want to be like, I'm going to draft every Sunday, or like I'm the type of person where if I don't have a schedule, it will never happen.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can't.
So if I'm like, oh no, I'm going to do this X times a week, I think being realistic in your goal setting is very important.
Yeah, I know that I couldn't do it, and I remember when you announced it, and it's so funny that it's over. Like,
yeah, it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it's
but
like
at the same time, it was the longest 100 days ever.
It's like, can I ask, what was day 11 harder, or was day 50 harder?
Oh, day 50 was harder for sure. Actually, day 50 was like the halfway point. I think like day 40-ish.
Sure. Like day like 37 when you're like, it's like it's been over a month.
Yeah.
I'm so over this.
I'm only a third of the way there. Yeah, that was, I think, the hardest. But then you get like past 50 and you're over that hump, and then you're just like we got this. We already did more than half.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Cool. Well, I personally, I mean, chat says that there's some great tips in here, and honestly, I can't believe you did it. I mean, I can, because I from everything that I know of you, you're just gonna do something you're gonna say you're gonna do, but at the same time, I mean, wow, like 100 days. It's kind of funny because I know that other people have done like streaming every day for a year, and and that like
insane.
It seems impossible, right? But
I was like, oh, 100 days isn't that many, and then you're like, oh my god, that's so many, and like my friends are like, oh, you could make it 365, and I was like, I will go insane, like I will kill someone. We can't do it.
Well, I'm glad that did you enjoy it? Like, was it fun?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a great learning experience, and it was a lot of fun, and I feel so much more confident as a drafter, and I think as a Magic player, because I think having fundamentals in draft, they greatly help your fundamentals in constructed.
I was actually going to say, you mentioned that you didn't like that it kind of was bad timing because it was M19. That actually might have been great timing, right? Because it like really got to teach you the fundamentals of draft.
Oh yeah, M19 was a very creature-based removal light, smash my dudes into your dudes format. So
and it probably made Guilds of Ravnica the funnest format in history.
Yeah, getting to play Guilds after like what 2.5 months of M19 is like, it's very weird.
Thank you so much for sharing this experience with the people on our YouTube channel, Chantelle. It really means a lot to me. You know, I am very proud of you. Like, you did an awesome thing. So good job.
Oh, thank you.
Don't forget to check out our sponsors at Ink Gaming and Oasis Games. You can find this podcast on mtgcastconstructorcriticism.com. You can follow it at LTOMTG. It is returning. I don't know who the hosts are going to be yet in conversations.
Rotating cast of characters.
Well, I can't say anything, but there will be a return of the show, and I'm really excited about it. I wanted the return of the show to be episode 100, so I was really glad that you got to come here and help me with episode 99. Where can people find you and the things that you do, Chantelle?
You can find me all over the internet. I'm very probably too active on Twitter at TELLE Campbell, and that is also my Twitch handle. And I'm going to be getting back into streaming probably after this weekend. I stopped having a set schedule for streaming, which meant that I stopped doing it. So we're going to get back on a set schedule, probably a couple times a week in the evenings. You can also find my articles at cardkingdom.com. I'm actually going to be having an article come out on 100 Days of Draft in the next couple of weeks, which is super exciting.
Yeah. And you didn't even mention your podcast.
Oh, shoot, I didn't. Everyone will be so bad. I am one of the co-hosts of a all women and non-binary Magic podcast called Proven Combatants. I myself, two-time English national champ Autumn Burchett, Squee the Goblin on Twitch, Teresa Foe, and Sarah Zyla, GPDC Day 190er. And we just talk the ins and outs of the competitive grind and what we're doing to get better at Magic.
Well, I'd just like to say that you your guys' podcast has just gotten better and better over the weeks, and all of you should be really proud. And also slam dunk on discovering Autumn early, because she is out of this world good at Magic.
Oh my gosh! I'm like, what are you doing in Constructed?
It's actually amazing. I've been like listening to the show, and you guys have all leaned into it. All three of you have just leaned into Autumn. Tell us, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And
yeah,
I think that's appropriate. I think that, I mean, Autumn's what 80. She had like an 80% win percentage in Constructed last year. Like it's not a real thing that people do.
Her medicals are out of this world. Just bonkers good.
Yeah. So, well, don't forget to check out Proven Combatants. You can spread this podcast here on YouTube as well as on iTunes. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us live today. Thank you to everybody listening. And we'll see you guys soon with a new limited time only. But thank you so much, Chantelle, for coming. It really does mean the world to me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everybody.